My newlywed husband has a first love that he can't be with. I'm particularly sensible and determined to be a decorative figure who takes the money and keeps quiet. It's just, why is he taking me on a date with his first love? And even asking me to sit on his lap? The first love's eyes are red and she looks extremely aggrieved. Asher, can't you put your wife down first? Asher simply gives me a princess stare. Half an hour before the engagement ceremony began, my sister Vivi broke into the scene wearing a white wedding dress and abducted my fiancé Jason away. The incident happened so suddenly that my mind is still completely blank now. Standing among a bunch of relatives, friends and guests who were waiting to watch the joke, I was stunned and couldn't react. My mother was unhappy and pulled a long face, saying, "It's not easy for your sister to have a man she likes. What's wrong with you giving him to her?" My father also chimed in. "Look at you. With that gloomy face like a jinx. Can't you live without a man?" My cousin also joined in the fun, laughing while munching on melon seeds. "Rosie, don't hold on so hard. If you want to cry, just cry. I promise I won't laugh at you." Although I didn't want to cry, looking at the figure of Jason snuggling up with Vivi as they walked away, my eyes still turned red uncontrollably. It's always been like this since I was a child. Whatever I liked, Vivi would just snatch it away directly. The candies and toys when I was a child, and the friends and lovers when I grew up, without exception. No one will stand up for me, and no one will stick up for me. This time, even a major event like an engagement is no exception. Holding back my tears, I picked up the hem of my dress and turned around to leave. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the crowd. A very low-key black car slowly pulled over. My parents' eyes immediately widened. The license plate number has 5 ones. Even a dog would wag its tail, squat down and raise its paw to salute when it sees it. That's the car of Asher, the heir of the Asher family. The Asher family is at the top of the pyramid, a top-notch wealthy family in the capital city. For a moderately wealthy family like mine, it's an existence that we can't even reach even with a ladder. Why would Asher suddenly appear here? The car door opened, and Asher, wearing a black luxury custom-made outfit and with a tall and slender figure, bent down and got out of the car. He walked straight through the crowd and stopped in front of me. Then, leaned out, in front of everyone. He took my hand. The moment my cousin's handful of melon seeds fell, I somehow became the confirmed Mrs. Asher. It is said that the number one for Tunchellard in the capital city said that Asher's future wife must be from our Vivi family. My biological sister just eloped with my ex-fiancé and settled down for wife. My cousin just got married and received the marriage certificate 3 days ago because she was pregnant. So this pie fell on my head. The only single person left now. My cousin grinned. So jealous that she wished she could move the Civil Affairs Bureau over and get a divorce right away. My parents didn't even hesitate for a moment and came over with a flattering face. "Well, son-in-law." Asher's bodyguards immediately carried them 3 meters away. "Sorry. Our young master is incompatible with everyone except Vivi." My parents. Half a month later, Asher and I held a wedding. And during these half a month, I also learned a lot of secrets from my best friend, who knows all the gossip. The reason why Asher chose to marry me is, first of all, because of the so-called fact that my birth date is good for my husband. Secondly, it's because he also has a first love that he can't be with. When my best friend told me this, we both immediately held each other's hands and our eyes lit up. The soul of gossip burned brightly. What kind of plot is this? Where the plot of a romantic novel comes into reality? Is it that the first love has a not-so-good background and the Asher family doesn't agree? Did Asher fight for it? Did he resist? I heard that Asher's grandmother dotes on him very much and will grant his every wish. Didn't he ask his grandmother? According to my investigation, Asher did fight for it and resist. Then what? He found a Fort Tunchellard who said that his first love was good for him. And then? His mother also found a Fort Tunchellard, who was more powerful than his. She said that you are even better for him than his first love. Well, it turns out that this is a battle in the metaphysics world, since Asher has a first love that he can't be with. Of course I'm very sensible. After taking a shower in the room on our wedding night, I immediately hugged a pillow and prepared to go to the guest room. What are you doing? Asher raised his eyebrows while unbuttoning his shirt and glanced at me. Who was as agile as a rabbit? I won't disturb you. I'm going to sleep in the guest room. I stood up obediently and stood at attention. Look. What a qualified wealthy family wife. Asher took off his tie slowly and deliberately. Took 2 steps towards me. And reached out to grab the belt of my pajamas. He looked at me expressionlessly. But pulled me towards him with force. The fortunelers said that if we don't consummate the marriage before 12 o'clock tonight, I will have a bloody disaster. My mind must have been out of sorts at that time. And I immediately raised my face and argued urgently. No, no, no. If we consummate the marriage, I will have a bloody disaster. After I said that, I realized what I had said, and my face instantly turned red. However, Asher's eyebrows and eyes relaxed, the corners of his lips curled up, and he looked at me with a somewhat gentle smile. Moreover, he looks so good when he smiles. It's simply making me feel all tingly inside. My mouth goes dry and my legs go weak. When I came to my senses, I realized that I was now tightly clutching the front of Asher's clothes at his waist with both hands. My whole body was almost pressed against his chest. I quickly tried to push him away, but Asher said, "Get ready. It's getting late. I really can't bring myself to consummate the marriage with my husband, who is almost a stranger to me. And I had a great time eating with my best friend at the dinner party. My little belly is still round now. I'm a bit embarrassed too, and dress in front of Asher. So I discussed with him, how about we do it like in the novels? Cut our hands and drip some blood on the bed sheet? This can also be considered as getting rid of the bloody disaster." Asher lifted his eyelids and looked at me. "That's okay, Q." He grabbed my finger and went to get the fruit knife. Stop. 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 Hey, heading fulfilled my obsession. Why don't you use your blood? Whoever suggests it uses their own blood, then forget it. Are you afraid of me? I sucked in my abdomen. Not really. How about you turn off the lights first? Asher turned off the lights. And I let out a sigh of relief and confidently stuck out my belly. Is it okay now? Asher pointed at the bed. Asher and I lay side by side on the bed, and I felt as stiff as a corpse. I couldn't help but cough twice. Well, should we liven up the atmosphere first? How do you want to liven it up? How about playing a guessing game? Go ahead. A little penguin wearing handcuffs. Guess a popular internet term. Asher was silent for half a minute. I can't guess it. Schwankiwa ha ha ha. I laughed heartily. Asher looked back at me. In the hazy light and shadow, his face was only a few centimeters away from mine. I could even see his tall nose bridge and the shadow cast by his eyelashes. Let's have another one. My heart was beating a bit fast, and I quickly looked away. In the dark, Asher held my hand. There are still half an hour until 12 o'clock. My laughter stopped abruptly. Well, do we really have to do it? Don't you want to, Rosie? I quickly sucked in my abdomen. Then can you not touch my belly? Is your belly uncomfortable? Asher frowned slightly. And when he released the hand holding my wrist, he was about to touch my belly. Don't touch it. I quickly grabbed his hand. I just ate too much. And my belly is still a bit bloated now. In the deep night, Asher suddenly laughed. My face felt a bit hot. But I couldn't help but glare at him. You're not allowed to laugh at me. Think about your bloody disaster. Okay. I won't laugh at you. Asher propped himself up and pulled me into his arms. He stroked the bangs on my forehead. Don't waste time. There are only 20 minutes left. What's so special about 20 minutes? Your husband is in very good health. 20 minutes is not enough. Asher lowered his head. His tall nose bridge rubbed against the tip of my nose. And his fingers had already untied the sash around my waist. Bite me if it hurts. Asher. I thought of the first love my best friend mentioned. Save any questions for later. Now. Focus. Rosie. Asher pinched my chin and lowered his head, preparing to kiss me. I closed my eyes nervously. But his lips gently landed on the corner of my mouth. Then, let out a low sigh. He gradually deepened the kiss. Actually, having fulfilled my obsession. My experience was quite good because he gave me extreme tenderness and patience. So much so that in the end, I was still vaguely thinking. No wonder they say that a man's body and heart are separated. Look. He has his first love in his heart. But he can still be so involved in consummating the marriage with me. 3 days after the marriage, Asher took me back to my parents' home. The scene was so grand that I was a bit unaccustomed to it. Vivi was also there. But she looked a bit dark under the eyes and not very energetic. When she saw Asher coming, her eyes immediately lit up, and she said softly, "Little sister. Brother-in-law. You're back." Just as I was about to reply, Asher held my hand and walked straight past Vivi without even looking at her. At the dinner table, my parents kept saying that Asher and I should come back often after marriage. I know what they mean. They just want to use me to get closer to the Asher family. After all, I still have a brother and a younger brother. Since I was a child, as the third child who wasn't favored, I've always been the scapegoat and the stepping stone. Even after getting married, I still have to be the blood bag for these people in my natal family. I wanted to refuse, but I was worried that Asher would think too much. While I was bowing my head and keeping silent, Asher directly pulled me up. "I think these dishes don't suit your taste. Let's go out and eat." Even after getting in the car, Asher didn't talk much to me. I sat in the car and looked back at the home where I had lived for more than 20 years. It's impossible to say that I'm not sad. Now, I have a new home. But I couldn't help but look at Asher beside me. He only married me because of my birth date. Of course, I won't expect any love either. But as a girl, I always have some expectations for the person I marry. What's more, Asher has been very kind to me from before the marriage until now. He answered a phone call on the way, and I heard that it seemed to be a woman's voice. They made an appointment to have dinner somewhere. I looked down at my fingers, feeling a bit sour in my heart. "I'll take you to eat something more and meet someone by the way." "Who?" Asher looked at me, raised his eyebrows. But there was a smile in his eyes that I didn't notice. 3 days ago, you asked me about my first love. My first love. This. Isn't that appropriate? Is it? I was a bit stunned. And there was also a bit of an indescribable soreness in my heart. There's nothing inappropriate about it. Asher held my hand tightly. I immediately understood. Most likely, he was using me to make his first love jealous. Isn't that how it's written in novels? I secretly encouraged myself. "Rosie. Here comes your chance to shine. Cooperate well. Make Asher happy. And there will definitely be benefits for you." Next, when Asher shakes hands, I'll put my arm around his waist. When Asher touches my face, I'll take the initiative to give him a kiss. When we sit down, I'll snuggle up beside him. Just as his first love pushed the door open and came in, seeing how affectionate we were, her eyes immediately turned red. Asher, however, remained calm and enjoyed my embrace. His first love bit her lip and sat down. Asher nodded slightly at her. But then he pulled my little arm and pulled me onto his lap. "There should be a limit to acting. Asher. If you make her run away in anger again, you'll vomit blood, fall into a coma, and lie in bed for 3 months. Asher." His first love looked on the verge of tears. "Let's eat first. My wife didn't have enough at noon." Asher didn't look at his beloved one but started feeding me. My little belly was rounded again from eating. Asher's big hand also touched and pinched it, looking very satisfied. His first love ate even less than a bird. No wonder she was slender, thin, hadn't fulfilled brand sigh, and pitiful. She began to reminisce about the past, speaking affectionately and trying to move Asher. I was so engrossed in listening that I almost cried empathic ally. But Asher was very annoyed. He kissed my face, played with my hair, and kept pinching the soft flesh on my belly. Then, without a low sigh, I gradually felt something was wrong under me. Slowly, the back of my neck turned red from the heat. I wriggled my body, trying to get off his lap, but Asher held me even tighter. Goodness! Now I really felt restless. I couldn't help but want to move again. But Asher firmly grasped my waist. "Don't move around. Be good." His voice was a bit hoarse, and I felt my face was so hot and it was about to explode. His first love seemed to be unable to stand it anymore. She stood up abruptly and shed tears. Asher, Asher. I know you hate me. You're deliberately being affectionate with her to make me angry. Fine, went out a low sigh. Then I admit it. I'm jealous and can't stand it anymore. Can you put your wife down first? Asher held me and gave her a cold look. No. Asher. My wife is sleepy. I'm taking her to take a nap. As he said that, Asher simply picked me up in a princess carry. My body was lifted into the air, and I was so scared that I quickly hugged his neck. Asher's body was pressed tightly against mine. And he whispered in my ear. Be good and help your husband fend her off. Fend off? Fend off what? I was incoherent and my whole body was burning. I felt really uncomfortable. Asher chuckled softly and pressed even closer to me. Are you sure you don't know? Okay. Okay. I know. I was truly convinced. Asher. His first love was crying so pitifully that even I felt sorry for her. How could you treat me like this? Do you deserve the friendship we've had since we grew up together? I didn't know what kind of bond there was between the two of them. I only knew that if my husband didn't take me home soon, I would be completely embarrassed. I'm really sleepy. How about you two have a good talk in private another day? Look, what a reasonable and understanding wife I am. Asher was satisfied and casually gave me a small goal. TSK, I was overjoyed. However, it wasn't until I got home that I belatedly realized that my husband didn't seem to be very happy. Let me talk to another woman. Another day. In private. And have a good talk? Asher tore off his tie, knelt down on one knee beside me on the bed, and directly grabbed my wrist and pinned it above my head. Rosie. What's your identity now? Asher. The daughter-in-law of the Asher family. Think again. Asher. Asher's wife. I was a bit nervous. Asher's extremely handsome face was too close to mine. It was always at night before. It wasn't too nerve-wracking to be shameless with the lights off, but it was broad daylight. But Asher didn't give me a chance to resist. The moment he leaned over me, I closed my eyes in a flustered and helpless manner. A bet the curtains should be drawn at least. Asher buried his face in the side of my neck and gently bit me when he heard that. How many times has it been? Are you still shy? Asher. Just close your eyes. Asher completely ignored my nervousness and shyness and did what he wanted on that big bed bathed in the sunlight. He spent the whole afternoon enjoying himself. After that, I was angry and refused to talk to him. He didn't try to coax me either. He took out the ranking list of famous restaurants in the capital city and started reading the menu to me. Soon, we've too. My stomach started growling. Asher smiled and leaned over to kiss me. Go take a shower and change your clothes. We're going out for a big meal. Looking at the smile in his eyes. At that moment, I suddenly heard the sound of my heart beating for him. It seemed that since the day we got married, Asher and I hadn't been apart much. Even when he went to the company, he would take me with him. While he was working, I would draw illustrations. I was originally a somewhat well-known illustrator. We were inseparable. Just like the most intimate and loving couple. I even had the illusion that Asher really liked me. And I, it seemed, was tasting the feeling of liking someone for the first time. That morning, I cheerfully got myself ready as usual, preparing to go to the company with Asher. But he stopped me coldly. You stay home and draw today. I have something important to deal with at the company. I was a bit surprised but quickly recovered and agreed. It was a bit too high profile to go to the company with Asher every day. When Asher went out, I saw him downstairs. When he got in the car, I heard him answer a phone call. His voice was quite gentle. After Asher's car left, I felt a bit dejected. I turned on the tablet and drew for a while. But I couldn't get into the mood. I simply called my best friend and asked her to go shopping with me. Sure enough, my life was like a sensational and melodramatic romance novel. Just as my best friend and I entered the restaurant after shopping, we saw Asher and his first love walking in side by side. Subconsciously, I directly raised the bag in my hand to cover my face. Asher didn't see me and turned around to lead his first love towards the private room. His first love. however, saw me and triumphantly raised her eyebrows at me. Rosie. My best friend gritted her teeth in anger. You're Mrs. Asher. Can you show the aura of Mrs. Asher? I tried hard for a long time but still didn't feel confident. I'm Mrs. Asher. But Asher's background is 100 times better than mine. I married above my station. I'm Mrs. Asher. But I'm only considered pretty and cute. Not really beautiful and charming. I'm Mrs. Asher. But Asher and I have only been together for a few months at most. But his first love has a bond with him that goes back to when they grew up together. When she went abroad to get married, Asher was bedridden for months. If I made a scene relying on the title of Mrs. Asher, I would just make a fool of myself. Seeing me poke the pudding in front of me into a mess, my best friend felt sorry for me and comforted me again. Forget it. There's nothing we can do about it. Your husband and his childhood sweetheart, Sister Alina, really have a bond that goes back more than 20 years. Does Asher really like her? My best friend sighed. Anyway, having fulfilled my obsession, I'm only sure of one thing. When Alina went abroad to get married, Asher was so ill that he almost lost his life. My heart suddenly felt extremely bitter. How much he must have liked her to make Asher, the favored son of heaven, almost lose his life? And that day, Asher was being affectionate with me in front of Alina. It seemed that he was really just trying to make her angry. Now, they should have talked things out and made up. But I was so stupid that I took it seriously and fell for him. Nan. I don't want to eat anymore. Let's go back. I really had no appetite at all. My best friend was afraid that I would be left alone with my thoughts. So she simply dragged me to another mall to go shopping. In the afternoon, we made an appointment with several classmates to have afternoon tea together. Who would have thought that we would run into Jason when we came out? Come to think of it, he was quite pitiful. After my sister ran away with him. They broke up now. My best friend said that because I married into the Asher family, my sister was jealous and looked down on Jason. She had been trying hard to find someone more powerful these days. Jason looked a bit haggard, but the moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. Rosie. What Rosie? Call her Mrs. Asher. My best friend took the initiative in a very loyal way. Jason gave a bitter smile. And his gentle eyes looked at me, as tender as when we were in love. Rosie. It's been a long time. How are you? I'm fine. That's good. Back then. I'm sorry for you. Let's not talk about the past. Then I kindly gave him some advice. Look forward. Life has to go on. You'd better let it go. Hearing this, Jason suddenly took a step forward. Rosie. I knew you still couldn't let me go. You feel sorry for me. Before I could react, Jason grabbed my hand. I really regret it. Rosie. How could I have been deceived by Vivi and hurt such a good girl like you? Rosie. Can you give me another chance? Let's get back together. But I'm already married. A man like Asher. You can never be happy with him. It's not like me. I pulled my hand back forcefully. Not like you what? I'll be devoted to you. Jason tried to grab my hand again. I promise. I swear. As long as you divorce Asher. Rosie. I'll take you to get the marriage certificate right away. My best friend couldn't stand it anymore. Neither could I. I shouldn't have wasted time talking to him just now. Yeah. A grown-up baby who ran away with another woman at the engagement ceremony and left a mess behind. How could he be worth my time talking to him? My best friend rolled up her sleeves and was about to take action. But Vivi came crying out of nowhere. Jason. Why didn't you answer my phone? I just found out that I'm pregnant. Do you know how happy and scared I am? Vivi threw herself into Jason's arms and started crying. Vivi. You're pregnant? You're not lying to me? Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? You're the baby's father. Jason picked Vivi up. Vivi, I knew you still had feelings for me. You couldn't bear to leave me. Of course. I've been so miserable and missed you so much these days since we broke up. My best friend and I looked at each other. Amazing. We quickly left. If we stayed any longer, we would both throw up. However, after watching this farce, my mood became even worse. It seemed that since I was a child, I had never been truly favored by anyone. Jason said he loved me and liked me. But he could also like my sister at the same time. Although my parents didn't mistreat me. Among the several children, I was always the one who was ignored. Unfortunate people spend their whole lives healing their childhood wounds. That's why I'm so starved for love and so easily satisfied by Asher. Satisfied with the little kindness Asher showed me. Even if it was just a little bit. Even if it was fake. When I got home, Asher still wasn't back. I stood downstairs and looked at our bedroom on the second floor. There was no light on. And it was pitch black. In fact, having been ignored since I was a child, I should have already been used to being alone and left unattended. But now, it's really easier to go from frugality to luxury to frugality. After being inseparable from Asher for a few months, I actually find the loneliness of this day to be an ordeal. I don't really want to go back to the room. I don't want to face that empty room without Asher in it. What is he doing now? Is he still with Alina? I wanted to send him a WeChat message. But I held back. However, my best friend suddenly sent me a screenshot of a moment's post and a long voice message that was 60 seconds long. I clicked on the photo. It was a photo of Alina. She was smiling brightly, with a dazzling array of delicious food and pastries in front of her. So, what is true love? It's knowing the food you like the back of your hand even after being apart for many years. It's being willing to indulge you, making you act like a naive child. I'm laughing. And he's looking at me tenderly. That's all. I stared blankly at the delicate food and pastries in the photo for a while. Asher had taken me to try all of these. And I liked them very much. Men rarely have an in-depth knowledge of delicious food. Most of the time, they learn about it from their successive girlfriends. I dejectedly turned off my phone. Asher didn't come back that night. Even in the next few days, I didn't see him. 9 on the third day. I couldn't help but call him. What's the matter? His voice sounded deep and gentle, without any sign of something being wrong. I held the phone tightly, looking at the smooth lawn outside the window. But my heart was in turmoil. Rosie. Seeing is believing. Asher. I haven't seen you for 3 days. And I miss you so much. There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone. After a moment, his voice softly came through. I'll ask the driver to pick you up. Get ready. Asher. We have a little code between us. It can be regarded as the intimacy between the two of us. Because on the night of our wedding night, we started with a guessing game. So later, we often secretly asked each other if we wanted to play the guessing game tonight. I have a question for you. Go ahead. Have you played the guessing game with anyone other than me? After I asked the question, I held my breath nervously. After a while, his deep laughter came from the receiver. You're not allowed to laugh. Okay. I won't laugh at you. Answer me. I think you need to find the answer to this question by yourself. Asher hung up the phone after saying that. I felt restless, trying on clothes over and over again. Finally, having fulfilled my sigh, I gritted my teeth and chose a slightly sexy little dress. I rarely wear clothes that expose all or giraffe skin. I once wore a halter dress when I was a child, and it was given to me by Bibi after she didn't want it anymore. As a result, I met a bad person on the way home from school. Fortunately, having fulfilled I ran fast and nothing serious happened. When I got home, I cried in my mother's arms. Instead of comforting me, my mother scolded me, saying that it was because I was promiscuous that such a thing happened. But this is clearly my sister's dress. And my sister wears it like this too. What can you compare with your sister? Besides, your sister is so beautiful and she hasn't encountered such a thing. I think you're probably lying to the adults. There's nothing wrong with a beautiful dress. There's nothing wrong with a little halter top, a vest, or shorts either. The ones at fault are those people who wear colored glasses. But I didn't understand these truths until I grew up. When I was young, the only thing I could do was to put away all the dresses and shorts and never touch them again. Looking at the completely unfamiliar figure in the mirror, I was stunned myself. I'm not as beautiful as Vivi, but I have a small and delicate face and very fair skin. I'm not as tall and slender as Vivi either, but my figure is just right. especially my waist to hip ratio is particularly good. It makes my waist look even thinner and my hips more curvy. I suddenly thought of a sentence Asher said to me in bed. Even the back of my neck turned hot. Asher sent someone to pick me up and we went to a somewhat remote suburban villa. The driver opened the car door for me. And I smiled and thanked him. When I looked up, I found that Asher's face suddenly darkened. I was about to smile at him. But Asher turned around with a serious face and entered the villa. When I chased after him, his expression was back to normal. What was wrong with you just now? I walked up to him and didn't dare to act coquettously as I used to. When he doesn't smile, he's still quite intimidating. Asher sat on the sofa and looked up at me. At first, I was calm. But gradually, I felt something was wrong. The dress is a bit low cut at the chest and has a V-neck. Anyway, it's quite alluring. I couldn't help but slightly hunch my shoulders and cough twice. Well, have you been here these days? Yes. Are you alone? There are also servants and a driver. Oh. I lowered my head and didn't dare to ask any further. After a moment, Asher said again, "Do you have any other questions?" It's still the same one as on the phone before. He chuckled softly. His body relaxed as he leaned back against the sofa. And he reached out and grabbed my wrist, pulling me into his arms. I almost threw myself onto his chest and bumped into him. I remember I said to let you find the answer yourself. Asher pinched my earlobe and whispered in my ear. Let me get down first. Please. Do you have the answer yet? I was blushing. And my heart was about to jump out of my chest. Yes, having Thothobrand session. I do. How about the answer? Are you satisfied? It's not bad. Just not bad? Asher suddenly put his arm around my lower back, pressing our bodies tightly together. The moment he kissed me, he asked me again, how about now? This is driving me crazy. I was almost as red as a boiled shrimp, wishing I could find a hole to crawl into. I'll have to trouble my wife to block for me again, so that I can go upstairs first. Asher stood up in this position. Hold on tight. I won't be responsible if you fall. I remember it was a little past 3 in the afternoon when I arrived. It was summer, and the days were long. But when everything was over, the sky outside the window had turned a deep rose blue. Asher was lying on the bed, and I was lying in his arms, not even having the strength to lift my eyes. Yet he still kept asking me if I was satisfied. Before dawn the next day, Asher woke me up and said that the driver was waiting downstairs and would take me back. Aren't you coming back? Wait for a few more days. Asher. Is there something wrong? Yes. Is it related to her? Yes. I was sitting on the bed, still a bit sleepy. Maybe I looked quite pitiful in this state. Asher touched my face and hugged me. Don't let your imagination run wild. If you don't want me anymore, remember to tell me in advance. Anyway, having fulfilled my obsession, we were never a good match to begin with. I tried hard to smile. Don't worry too much about me. You know what my family is like. I can accept any outcome. Asher. Just don't lie to me. I've never lied to you. Okay. I believe you. I jumped off the bed. Then I'm going home. Call me when you come back. I'll be waiting for you. Okay. Try to go out as little as possible during this time and wait for me at home. Asher didn't see me off downstairs. When I went downstairs, I couldn't help but cry. I just cried silently. And I wiped away my tears as quickly as possible. For the next half-month, there was no news from Asher at all. But Alina called me once. Rosie. Asher told me that he married you solely because the elders in his family said that your birth date is good. It's favorable for your husband. And it's beneficial to his health and career. You should also know that when I went abroad, Asher was seriously ill and almost lost his life. It's also for this reason that the elders of the Asher family let you in. Otherwise, do you think, with your background, you would have a chance? Alina, what do you want by saying all these things? I'm back now. And Asher's body has completely recovered. You have no more use value. So, what do you think you should do? Divi? If Asher wants to be with you, as long as he tells me, I naturally know what to do. Fine. And just wait for Asher to divorce you. I hung up the phone before she could finish speaking. At that moment, I really wanted to see Asher and ask him in person. But then I thought of the day we separated. What he said to me. Asking me to wait for him at home. Since I was a child, my greatest strength has been being obedient. When Vivi snatched my toys, my dolls, my boyfriends, and even my fiancé, I never fought or grabbed them back, because I know that what can be snatched away was never truly mine. It's the same with Asher now. No, actually, it's still a bit different. I really liked my toys and those dolls. But I wasn't so attached to them that I couldn't let go. I also had crushes on boys when I was a young girl full of dreams. But when they were easily snatched away, I didn't have too much nostalgia or reluctance. Although I've never said it, I know very well that in my heart, I've always been waiting for a man to appear. He will favor me. Unconditionally favor only me. He can never be snatched away. And he will always belong to Rosie. I don't know if Asher is that man. Although I really hope he is. 7 days after Alina called me, I was out shopping with my best friend. She suddenly let out a scream like a frightened duck. Ahaha. Rosie. Look. Look. My best friend held her phone in front of me. And she was completely incoherent. And when I saw that bolded and black and headline, I was also stunned. Alina had been taken away by the police. The reason turned out to be that she was suspected of poisoning the food of Asher, the eldest son of the Asher family. I never would have imagined that Alina would do something so unimaginable. Under normal circumstances, shouldn't she have used that kind of drug? Although Asher didn't need it at all. Is she crazy? My best friend couldn't figure it out either. I was even more confused. It seemed so. Besides the fact that she was crazy, I really didn't know how else to explain her crazy behavior. And an even more shocking thing was yet to come. The day after Alina was taken away by the police, another group of policemen came to the Asher family and took away 2 of Asher's cousins. That was when I learned the truth of everything. Back then, when Alina went abroad to get married, Asher was seriously ill and almost lost his life because of it. The rumor outside was completely false. It's true that Alina got married. But the reason for Asher's serious illness wasn't because of a broken heart. It was the doing of Alina and Asher's 2 cousins. It was just like the current situation. As if it were copied and pasted. However, after Asher recovered from his illness back then, he didn't do anything. He even let the gossip about him and Alina spread throughout the capital city. They thought they had done it so perfectly that no one could find out. Even Alina thought that Asher had feelings for her. And after experiencing a marriage breakdown and her family going bankrupt, her desire to make a fortune again coincided with the thoughts of Asher's cousins. So she made a comeback years later, unwilling to give up. But she didn't expect that Asher had been calmly waiting for them to fall into the trap. The reason why Asher and the elders of the Asher family didn't take action back, and was that Asher's illness was urgent. The whole family's attention was focused on Asher's safety. By the time they had the time to investigate, the evidence had already been completely destroyed. Alina did grow up with Asher, but she was 2 years older than him. Asher had always regarded her as an elder sister. Later, when they grew up, Alina once expressed the idea of getting married, but for some reason, the elders of the Asher family refused. Alina approached Asher privately, but Asher said he would follow the elders' advice. Feeling humiliated, Alina gradually developed a grudge and was later used by Asher's cousins. In Asher's branch of the family, Asher was the only son. If he died, the huge family property would naturally fall into the hands of the collateral branches. The huge temptation combined with the hatred of not being able to have what she wanted made Alina take the first step into the abyss. And what I couldn't imagine even more was this. The fate between Asher and me was actually established back then. When he was vomiting blood and fell into a coma and was taken to the hospital, almost all of his blood was replaced. The blood bank was in an emergency, having fulfilled my ancestor. And the blood from other blood banks hadn't been transferred yet. Coincidentally, I was in the hospital at that time and volunteered to roll up my sleeves and donate blood. I even forgot that my period hadn't ended yet. I fainted after walking only a few steps after donating blood. When Asher told me these things, I vaguely remembered. At that time, when I woke up, I was still a bit weak. A grandma came to visit me and thanked me. She also left me her business card and phone number, telling me to contact her if I ever needed help. I donated blood just to save someone. And naturally, I never thought about getting anything in return. It seemed that had and doesn't let any kind heart go unruffled. And eventually, good results were achieved. Rosie. There's no love or hate without a reason in this world. Asher held my hand. Seeing that I was still a bit dazed, he couldn't help but smile. Actually, at first, I just thought of her paying you once, and that would be it. But later, gradually, I got deeply involved. Many times I thought, why is she so silly and clumsy? When others bully her, why doesn't she fight back? Asher. I don't care about the things others do to me because I don't really care much about them. Even if they are my relatives. But I can't stand it. Rosie is a good girl. And she shouldn't be treated like this. Since those people don't care about you or look after you, then I'll do it myself. Then, let out. Did you do those things on purpose the other day? Asher pulled me into his arms. Alina is 2 years older than me. She has been a bit clever since she was a child and always thought she could play me like a fool. I played along with her. I made her think that I was being affectionate with you on purpose to make her angry. After she came to me crying and fussing a few times, I pretended to forgive her and got close to her again. She thought I was still the same Asher as when I was a child, following her around and doing whatever she said. But Rosie, I almost died back then. How could I still be the old Asher? He looked at me, and there was still a sigh in his voice. Do you know what I was thinking at the moment when I was on the verge of death? That bowl of steamed egg custard was made by Alina herself. And she also put the poison in it herself. But at that moment, I was thinking that when I was sick as a child and couldn't eat, Alina cooked the steamed egg custard and fed it to me bite by bite. I really did regard her as an elder sister before. I held his hand tightly with heartache. Asher. Stop talking. Okay. Let's not talk about these things anymore. By the way, Alina once called me and said that you married me because my birth chart is good for my husband and it's beneficial to you. Did you say that to her? Yes, has it? Not only did I say that to her, but I also said it in front of the elders, relatives, and friends of the Asher family. Asher. Do you think that when I haven't caught strong evidence to bring those people to justice, I would let the world know that I married you because I like you and want to treat you well? Would I be willing to put you in danger? So as soon as Alina came back, I distanced myself from you immediately. And the world believed even more that I couldn't forget my old feelings for Alina and didn't care much about you as my wife. Grandma. My parents all knew my plan. That's why, in these days after our marriage, they were just polite to you and didn't get too close. Only then did I suddenly understand. Indeed, I had been married into the family for more than half a year. And the number of times I met my in-laws could be counted on one hand. When I visited Grandma, the most she said was, "This child is lucky and has a good birth chart." They didn't treat me harshly, but they were just indifferent to me. It made the world believe that the Asher family was so superstitious that they married me into the family. Although I didn't want to cry, looking at the figure of Jason and Vivi snuggling up and walking away, my eyes still turned red uncontrollably. Japanese yes. I'm sorry. Asher. I suddenly felt a bit guilty. Why are you saying sorry? Because when I married you, I didn't like you yet. I just felt so embarrassed. So when you wanted to marry me, I agreed. I thought this was a good way out and a good person to rely on. Asher couldn't help but laugh. He hugged me tightly and kissed my face. Then what about now? Do you like me now? I didn't answer this question. I just raised my face and kissed him back. I whispered in his ear, "Husband, I've thought of a new riddle. Let's guess riddles tonight. Okay? Tonight should be a very sweet and happy night. No, it should be every night and every day from now on. Day and night. Year after year. When they have a large family with many children and grandchildren, they will still be as sweet as ever." The end of the full text.